How many times have you ever thought, Lord, man, Lord, if you could just take this from me, if there's something just really bothersome in your life, something bothersome that's continuous, Lord, if I could be rid of this thing, it would be awesome. But then you hear other people say, though, which you also identify with to a certain extent, where you say, well, really, actually, when you're done with that, it's going to be another thing, right? So people will say, if it's not one thing, it's another, right? So you hear that a lot in the world, right? And unfortunately, in the church, you hear that. If I could just get rid of this, it would be better. Whatever you're dealing with right now, it could be anything you're dealing with right now. And people will also say in their mind, well, everybody's dealing with something, right? But if I could just get rid of this one thing, man, how good things will be. Here's what's wrong with that line of thinking. And listen, this is not some people that think this sometimes, right? The Apostle Paul and all of the things that he learned, right? I'll show it to you today. He came to the Lord and he said, Lord, you know what? I have prayed and asked you 3 times to take this thing from me. Right? Because, Lord, this is what he's saying. I have been growing, Lord, abundantly I have been growing in the revelations of who you are. This is a man with an abundance of revelation. He knows who the Lord is. And he prayed 3 times at least to the Lord, he says. And he's recounting. He's not saying, when he was recounting it, he's not saying it like I'm still doing it. He's saying, listen, I'm trying to teach you from what I went through, right? He said, I told the Lord 3 times, if you could just take this from me, if you could just take this one thing from me, how awesome it would be if you could just take this from me. And he's telling the Lord, I have asked you 3 times to take this from me. This is from the same man that I am pretty sure knew that the work that Jesus had done was finished, right? The same person, right? How many times do you think the Lord taught the Apostle Paul about the finished work of Jesus Christ, right? I mean, he wrote the majority of the books in our New Testament, right? How many times did the Lord not teach that man, right? About the finished work of Jesus, the completion, the finality of what he's done. Yet he said to the Lord, he said in 2 Corinthians, I think it is, let's just go there real quick. 2 Corinthians 12:7, the King James Version, it says, "Unless I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of revelations that were given to me, a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me. There was given to me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure." So obviously, right, he was growing in his revelation, right? So he says, so there was something in his life, right? There was something in his life that whatever it was, he said a messenger of Satan. So that means that he was hearing something, right? Something or someone from external to him was speaking things to him that were contradicting the revelation of Jesus Christ that he had been growing in, right? It was contradicting that, right? So he says, for this thing, verse number 8, he says, for this thing, whatever it was, he just called it a thing, and it's probably not even important because it's everybody in the world has a thing, right? And in this world, the world suffers from things, right? But we don't have to be tormented by things, even to this extent, right? We don't have to come to the Lord asking the Lord to take a thing away from you, right? Because the one thing it's negating is what he's done. When you ask God to take a thing, what you're not seeing is what he's taken, right? To ask Jesus to take a thing is to not see what he's taken, right? To ask God to show you how you don't have to suffer or be tormented by a thing because of what he's done, that makes sense, right? Lord, show me, let me see, Lord, there is something about you, Jesus, that I'm not seeing. Show me what it is that I'm not seeing, because I know that if I have a thought going through my head, which is wrong, right? I have a thought going through my head saying, Jesus, take this. That right there, you know you're dead wrong. Because if you tell Jesus, take this, and the reality, obviously, of what we know and is awesome to be reminded about is that sin was dealt with 2,000 years ago. For us to talk to the Lord and ask him to take something that is related to sin, which every negative thing in your life that is not about the inheritance that you have in Jesus is as a result of sin. Everything that you deal with in your life, whether it be sickness, disease, bad thoughts, bad habits, bad behaviors, bad speaking, whatever it is, it all comes as a result of sin. And Jesus was manifested to take away sin and to destroy and make inactive the works of the devil, right? That's why he came. He ain't coming again to do that. He came to do that. And he came and he went, right? He came and he went. And he lives on the inside of us today by his Spirit. So we're talking about something that's done, not about something that's going to come, right? So to ask Jesus to take something, obviously is just showing that we don't know what we're talking about in that moment. And Paul, when he prayed and said, God, take this away from me, the Lord very quickly corrected him, right? And said, what I have done is sufficient for you. You're just not seeing what I've done. Right? That was the answer. Lord, take this from me. God's answer was, you're not seeing what I have freely given you. Right? In other words, the grace that you stand in, through whom you have access, right? Through righteousness by faith in Jesus, right? You have access to the grace in which you stand. That grace you ain't seeing because you don't see the sufficiency of what I've done because you're asking me to take something that's been taken, right? If you're suffering today, and you can take that word suffering and you can put it across anything. Suffering bodily, suffering mentally, suffering emotionally, suffering with a hangnail. It don't matter. If you call it suffering, Jesus came and took a body to suffer in it, right? For the suffering of death, right? He came in a body, he suffered, died, and was crowned with glory and honor because of that suffering. And Pastor Mike's been teaching on that, right? But what you know is he came and took a body to suffer in that body. So if you're suffering, nobody's guilting you over that. I'm just letting you know you don't have to suffer. And if that doesn't make entire sense to you, but it sounds good, which it should, right? If somebody is suffering and you tell them, you know, you don't have to, that just sounds pretty good. If I'm suffering and you tell me I don't have to, that sounds darn good to me. Just tell me how I don't have to suffer. And if I tell you that, you know what, seek the Lord and have him teach you his sufferings so you can understand that he took your suffering so you wouldn't have to suffer, what sense would it make for Jesus to come and suffer for your sin so that then you could continue going on suffering for the same sin, right? There is no suffering that you go through in your body that is not a cause of sin. And Jesus came to destroy, make inactive, inoperative in your life the work of sin in this world. He was just thinking, it was just a man tormented by something, right? Apostle Paul was just at this point, was just a man going through stuff. And the Lord said to him, like, what an answer. He said, my grace is sufficient for you. But you want to know how that normally is taught? This is what, me and Pastor Mike was talking about this the other day. Normally the way this is taught is, you come to the Lord, it's so horrible. You come to the Lord and you say, Lord, like I need you to take this from me, and that God from heaven responds to you and says, just deal with it. Deal with it. That's your lot in life. Just suck it up and deal with it, right? But that's the opposite of what he's saying. What do they think the word sufficient means anyway? And he says to the Lord, he prays to them 3 times consistently. I don't know if it was on different days, the same day, but he saw it enough where he prayed once, found no relief. Prayed a second time, found no relief. Prays a 3rd time, and the Lord responds to him and just simply says to him, you know what, you're asking me to take this from you? I already have. The Lord just said, I already did. Why are you asking me to take something that I've already taken from you? It's that simple. Like how awesome does that, because the next thing that you should probably think is, Lord, oh my God, Lord, yeah, you already, like you've been teaching me this, Lord, for how long? That's just dumb thinking of mine. Of course you've already done it, right? And the Lord can begin to remind you of the verses that you've heard, of the things that the Lord has taught you, of the messages that you've heard. And even if you're not established, which obviously, if we're saying things like this out of the abundance that's in our heart, we're not there yet. There are things that we're not sure about yet, right? So Paul was not, at this point in his life, he was not sure about some things having to do with what Jesus has already taken from him. Did he believe that Jesus died on the cross for his sins? Of course. Had he heard enough about that? No. But what I want to tell you is, you know what, if you're beginning to hear and you hear the good news about what Jesus has done, and that the only expectation that God has of you is that you would continue to listen to him and let him teach you the good news, right? If that sounds good to you, that he came to save you from every single thing, right? He came to save you, not just for the things that you consider negative in this world. He came to just deliver you from the world, period. Even the things that you consider good in the world, he's saying, that's not even good. I'll show you what good is. Like you haven't even thought, you can't even imagine how the awesome things that I have are already prepared for you. Like if you think that there's stuff in this world that is good, he says, let me deliver you from that too so you can see what truly good is, right?
We hope you enjoyed this message from Reformed Church. If you have, please share this with someone else and help us get this uncommon truth out to the world. If you'd like to support this good news, you can do so at reformedchurch.com/give. Also on our website, you can take advantage of our free messages, articles, and even full discipleship courses. Start reforming your mind now at reformedchurch.com.